And welcome back to more Pikmin! So last time, we escaped the impact site with the help of the Pikmin, and this time we'll be exploring a new area, the Forest of Hope. My dolphin has returned to the surface, along with the Pikmin's onion. Being alone on this strange planet makes me somewhat uneasy, so I shall call the Pikmin out of the onion. All you need to do is stand in the light beneath the onion and press A. So, we have 25 red Pikmin to work with. So a large part of today will be spent raising more Pikmin. So first of all, we have these pellets here, and we have this destructible wall. There is another wall behind us, but we can't get through here quite yet. So a big part of Pikmin is multitasking. So with a large number of Pikmin in tow, it's possible to divide them up and tackle different tasks at the same time. That's generally the best way to go about quick runs of the game. In fact, the lowest day count I'm pretty sure is 7 days out of 30, which requires getting basically every ship part the first time you visit a region. Which is easier said than done, because now we have a time limit. So the sun icon is moving left to right. Once it reaches the end, the day will automatically end, and we have to go back to the planet's atmosphere because the surface is too dangerous at night. Olimar will explain all of this later, but yeah, speedruns are pretty crazy because there are parts that we are not supposed to get until a second visit to the Forest of Hope. By the way, these are our first enemies, the Dwarf Orbs. They aren't too difficult to take down. If you land a direct hit, they'll instantly be defeated like that. That was kind of a close call with the first one. I was not able to land a direct hit, and the Pikmin almost died in the process. So this being a deathless run, in general, I'm probably not going to fight many of these with Pikmin in the future. So, doing a deathless run of Pikmin is really interesting because a lot can go wrong really quickly and easily. So I'm going to be taking a lot of steps to minimize what can go wrong. So that's another reason why, even though it's possible to finish this game really quickly, I'm going to kind of be taking my time with it. So over here we have a ship part. We're gonna ignore that for a little bit, and in the distance, in this area over here, there's also another onion. It's kind of hard to see actually, but kind of faintly in the distance at the very top of the screen. So that is our main goal, that and collecting the one ship part. Ideally, I would collect more than one ship part in a day, but for the sake of minimizing Pikmin losses, I'm only going to be collecting the one, or at least prioritizing the one. So we have roughly 50 red Pikmin now, and they're all leaves, sadly, so not great, but there is a way to quickly get flower Pikmin. So over by the onion is a little patch of grass. So what we want to do is zoom out the camera and also put it overhead, and just kind of swarm the Pikmin around the grass. Obviously this is a little bit easier on GameCube than on Wii, because you can use the C-Stick. Another intriguing discovery! A local variety of grass produces a sort of yellow nectar. When the Pikmin drink this delicacy, they instantly mature into flowers. This apparent Pikmin favorite seems to be full of nutrition. Close observation is needed to determine the strengths and peculiarities of these flower Pikmin. So, with that, we have a lot more flower Pikmin without having to wait around. With the time limit, we obviously don't want to wait if we don't have to, so this is the best way to quickly get a full squad, or almost a full squad, of flower Pikmin. So they're a bit faster. You can see the leaf Pikmin are falling behind, and the flower Pikmin are keeping up with Olimar. I think they're also a bit stronger as well. We're gonna leave them to break down the wall, and we are going to fight these Dwarf Orbs by ourselves. Olimar's punches aren't really great against big enemies, but they work totally fine on small enemies like this, so in a lot of cases I will be fighting smaller enemies like this because there are some glitches in this game. Even these bigger enemies have some glitches, so I am going to avoid fighting Orbs whenever possible, because when a Orb is defeated, it will collapse onto the ground, and if it lands on a Pikmin, it can actually shove the Pikmin below the ground, which counts as a death. It's called the crushing glitch, and is really annoying for a deathless run, so for the sake of minimizing glitch deaths as well, I will be generally avoiding fighting, at least using conventional means. But over here, so we have a yellow onion this time. That Pikmin's gonna take a bit to sprout up, to the point where we can pluck it out of the ground, so I'm going to head back here and collect some of the spoils from earlier. So first of all, we have this large 10 pellet, we have these small Dwarf Orbs here, and we have... why, it's the Eternal Fuel Dynamo! It has an unlimited energy supply. I won't have to worry about saving electricity anymore. This will make my fight for survival a bit easier. So this is our second ship part. By the way, some ship parts are optional. We'll be going into a little bit more detail later on, but this is a required ship part. 25 out of 30 are necessary to get the good or neutral endings. The color is different, but it seems to be a Pikmin nonetheless. First glance suggests this one has what in some circles could be considered very large ears. It looks like it may weigh less than the others. In what other ways might it be different from the red Pikmin? I must be sure to observe it closely. I can hold a Pikmin for a moment with A, then swap it for another by pressing B. This is a new feature, by the way, so the yellow Pikmin can be thrown higher than the red Pikmin, and have one other unique trait as well. So, there are 3 pellets here and a few pellets there. We want about 9 to 15 yellow Pikmin by the end of the day. Frankly, yellow Pikmin aren't as needed as red Pikmin. Eternal Fuel Dynamo. This should light things up. No more candles for me. I have now recovered 2 out of 30 parts. If I can find just 3 more, I should be able to increase my ship's capabilities. So, going over attributes a little bit more, red Pikmin are really good at fighting enemies, meaning it's good to have a large squad of them, especially if you're going to be fighting a lot of enemies. Yellow Pikmin are more required for very specific tasks, so much smaller amounts of yellow Pikmin are required. I would say about 30 by the end of the game is a good number of yellow Pikmin to take care of everything you need to take care of with them. So it's kind of interesting. Yellow Pikmin are more useful in the sequels. They give them an additional attribute that makes them much more beneficial, but in this first game they're a little bit more limited use. And one of those limited uses is right over here. The yellow Pikmin have picked up some peculiar stones. Why did they decide to grab them? This action seems to be instinctive to the yellow Pikmin, but just what are these strange glowing stones? Brightly glowing cracks cover them. Perhaps these cracks indicate that there's tremendous power locked away within. This merits further research. So, in later games, I think in Pikmin 3 this is the case, these stones can be picked up with any Pikmin, but in the first game, only the yellow Pikmin can use these. So we toss them at this wall. The glowing rocks the yellow Pikmin picked up seem to be explosive stones. Perhaps they know that these stones can be used as powerful weapons. The bomb rocks are dangerous, so I must take care when using them, but they should be able to blast open the stone walls that block pathways. I may even be able to use them against some of the wild creatures. I must be vigilant. When I throw bomb rock carrying Pikmin and give them orders, they will toss their bomb rocks at nearby walls or obstacles. The explosive power of the bomb rocks is tremendous, so I must keep my distance. The Pikmin can also be caught in the blasts of bomb rocks. My clock has indicated the coming of noon. From now on, I must pay close attention to the sun meter on my monitor and choose my actions accordingly, so it's best for me to review my monitor's data. Across the top of my monitor are the sun meter and day display. At the bottom are my spacesuit damage meter and Pikmin gauges. From left, these numbers reflect Pikmin under my command, Pikmin in the field, and total Pikmin, including those in onions. To adjust my monitor, I can press Z to rotate the camera, left or right on the D-pad to zoom, and up on the D-pad to change the viewpoint. I can also press plus to view a detailed computer analysis. So a little recap of the camera controls. So yeah, we have 77 total Pikmin and 77 on the field. There's another bombable wall here, but we're not gonna worry about that today. We're halfway through the day, so yeah, the Eternal Field Dynamo will be the only part we get. The rest of the day will be spent clearing out more walls, but only walls that we really need to destroy. I'm gonna dismiss so I don't accidentally throw a Bomb Rock Pikmin. In the GameCube version, Bomb Rock Pikmin work a little bit different. So, in this version, if you throw a Pikmin carrying a Bomb Rock, it will just hold on to it. In the GameCube version, if you called a Pikmin with a Bomb Rock, they would drop the Bomb Rock, which is really scary. So for example, they will only drop a Bomb Rock if there's something they can use it on, which is actually kind of cool in some ways and kind of frustrating in others. We'll get into that a little bit later. So over here we have this wall taken down. This yellow pellet up here is really high up. The red Pikmin can't reach it, so we have to use the yellow Pikmin to pick that up. So we want to get about 20 yellow Pikmin by the end of tomorrow, because this pellet will despawn. So the Dwarf Bulborb can wake up the adult Bulborb. We managed to take it out in time, so it wasn't a problem. But with the Bomb Rocks, we can actually fight enemies as well. So, the best way to take out enemies with Bomb Rocks is to throw a Pikmin and let it throw the Bomb Rock and then run. Hope it doesn't trip, because Pikmin can trip and it's really unfortunate when it happens when something is chasing you. But basically wait for the Bulborb to go back to sleep. Half of its health is taken out, so it actually regenerates a little bit of health. So what we're going to do is actually flee, dismiss the Pikmin in a safe spot, like, I guess that's good enough, and then just take out the rest of its health with Olimar. Another method for taking out Bulborbs is either swarming it while it's asleep from behind, or tossing Pikmin directly onto its back. Both are viable methods, but are prone to the crushing glitch, so for the sake of not taking too many chances, I am going to just do that instead. So, one of the really nice things on the Wii version, having the pointer disjointed from the cursor means you can call Pikmin from really far away. On GameCube, obviously, you're limited to the max distance of the cursor, so that's a really, really nice change, actually. So next up is this wall. We're gonna leave the Pikmin to do some damage on it for now, because I actually need to leave and take out some enemies over here. These are sheer grubs. These are really glitchy. The male sheer grubs, which are the purple ones, become invincible when they're lunging. If they grab a Pikmin, they become invincible until they finish eating the Pikmin, meaning you will automatically lose a Pikmin in that case. So as a result, in most cases, I will just be fighting sheer grubs like this. There's another variant that we actually will have to fight, so that is the problem later on. But for now, this is a viable method to taking out the sheer grubs. So there's also a couple Dwarf Bulborbs as well. I can't remember if I've already talked about it in this video, but these Dwarf Bulborbs are actually not related to the adult Bulborbs. These are actually related to a different species that we'll be seeing a little bit later. There's a part over there, but we're gonna ignore that for the time being. So they're taking down this wall, which is fine. But I actually want to grow a few more yellow Pikmin. So a good way to do so is to pick up the sheer grubs, because they only take one Pikmin, therefore it won't be that big of a deal to have 9 yellow Pikmin, because we'll have more than enough to carry everything back. for the sake of a cutscene that likes to play very constantly in areas and not having to see this cutscene today, I am actually going to put away the red Pikmin, also for the sake of keeping better track of how many Pikmin I have on the field. There's still one Pikmin following us. There's still one Bomb Rock, which we can actually do something kind of cool with. I don't think this is possible on GameCube, but if you get like a running throw, you can actually hit this wall early. So we're not supposed to be able to get up there quite yet, but we actually can. Again, not really necessary right now, but it will be helpful to keep that in mind for later. There is a ship part in plain sight, but I am going to ignore it for now, just for the sake of raising more yellow Pikmin. At some point, I am going to pick up the red Pikmin from the wall, and basically get them out of harm's way, because if, well, Olmar's gonna explain it himself, but eventually, when the day ends, any Pikmin not near onions or with Olimar will be lost at the end of the day. So we have to be really careful about keeping track of our numbers. Once we get this part over there, the radar, it'll be much easier to do so, but for now, we're kind of stuck. By the way, I'm not collecting the yellow pellet today, the 20, because we'd have to carry it all the way to this onion. My clock is indicating the approach of sunset. Pikmin waiting beneath the dolphin and onions will probably enter the onions on their own, but if I don't call the stragglers and add them to my group, they may not be able to get back. I'm sure that the Pikmin still planted are safe, but I'm somewhat concerned about leaving Pikmin to fend for themselves in darkness. So, yeah, we need to basically make sure we have all of our Pikmin on hand at the end of the day, but yeah. Carrying that 20 pellet all the way over here is not really feasible, so it's just gonna be easier to leave it for later. And I don't think we have enough time to carry back anything else. What I'm going to do instead is actually try to get these yellow Pikmin flowered. So, I actually don't know if I have time for this. And I also don't know if this counts as being close enough to the ship to be safe. So we're gonna kind of hustle here, just miss them near the nectar, and they'll automatically start drinking it. We're gonna call these Pikmin back so they'll be safe, and then quickly regroup with the yellows. Hopefully most of them will be flowers. Yeah, most of them are, which is great. So yeah, a successful day 2. Two days since impact. It appears that many of my ship's parts have landed in this region. If I can just recover the parts of my radar, I should be able to use my radar screen. How that would improve my chances, then I'd only have to press plus to locate my parts. Yet there seem to be many hostile lifeforms here. If I'm attacked, and my spacesuit takes damage, I must return to my ship, stand in front of it, and press A to make suit repairs. As I explore, I must pay attention to my suit's damage meter in the bottom left corner of the screen. We raised quite a few Pikmin today and didn't lose any, so all in all, a successful day 2. So with that, we'll be exploring more of the Forest of Hope next time. So thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for more Pikmin.